Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome to a Books Beside My Bed video. For those of you who are new here, I film one of these every week where I'll wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading, and for anyone who is very familiar with the series, welcome back. It's been a week is all I can say. I am, at the time of filming this, 2 weeks out from the end of the year. I am very, very tired, so if I forget something, this is probably why. It is my reading week from the 27th of November until the 2nd of December. It's a little bit of a shorter week only because I've started the KU Catch-Up Readathon on the 3rd, and I'm keeping the books that I read for that separate from this wrap-up. But the vlog for that will be going up, hopefully, on Tuesday, assuming I remember when I've scheduled everything for. I read a total of 8 things this week, 1,708 pages, and my yearly reading total is 498 books for the year. The first book that I read this weekend was Once Burnt, Twice Shy by Carly Lane. This is Carly Lane's most recent release. I received this from Allen and Unwin as a review copy, so thank you very much to them. This was the book that I was blurbed for on the back, and it is a small town Australian rural romance. It is also a second chance romance, so you have our heroine, Sam, who has returned to her parents' farm, and she is there looking after it while they're on a trip around the world. While she's back home, she ends up catching up with her teenage love, Jack, who lives on a neighbouring property. And just as they're reconnecting, really severe bushfires hit the region and the two of them get caught up in it. It brings them closer together, but then the realities of their lives, because Sam still hasn't permanently moved back to this town. She has 2 daughters and a life in Queensland, and she is still trying to work out what that actually means for her and for her new relationship with Jack. So this one was a really great afternoon read. Carly Lane does not disappoint. She just has a great writing style that makes it very easy to read. Also from Allen and Unwin, I received Kill Your Brother by Jack Heath. This is a suspense horror-ish type story. Well, probably suspense thriller, but there are elements of very creepy stuff going on in this book. So this is the story of Elise, who is a disgraced athlete who has returned to her hometown, and she finds out that her brother, who is a local high school teacher, has gone missing. Then she discovers that he's being held in a tank buried in the backyard of one of the local women, Stephanie. She ends up getting caught up in trying to figure out why this is going on. It's a story of lies and betrayal, and honestly, it was quite disturbing. There's a lot of survival elements in this book. I'm going to give some content warnings, which also double as spoilers. So in a moment, I'm going to put a spoiler tab up on the screen. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, skip ahead to the next book. I did really thoroughly enjoy this. Once I started reading it, I couldn't put it down. I'm going to talk about the spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So the biggest content warning in this book is for a teacher having a relationship with a student. So be aware of that going into it. And you have the main character being given the ultimatum: in order for you to survive, you need to kill your brother. And it's that dilemma, particularly as Elise has no idea what's going on. There are tons of other content warnings. I've got a review up on my blog, but just be aware of that going into this book. Then I read More Rules for Life by Kitty Flanagan. This is a humour / self-help / life guide by Kitty Flanagan, who is an Australian comedian. I have read her first book, 488 Rules for Life, where she basically goes through some common sense rules for living your life and being an acceptable member of the community. And this is a short volume that continues that. And it has special pandemic rules that, you know, we've now come to accept as just a normal part of our lives. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's very entertaining. I do quite like most of Kitty Flanagan's humour, so I appreciated this. Take it as you will. It was very light reading, and sometimes you just need to hear someone else saying common sense things that you believe as well. The next book is a really interesting one. It's called Shed Words, and it's 100 Rare Words to Explore and Enjoy. And a colleague of mine had mentioned this to me, and it is one of the most gorgeous books. It is literally 100 words, their definition and examples of them in use, as well as some gorgeous imagery. Not much else I can say about it, but it's sorted alphabetically. And then on each page, you have your word, your definition, you have your example, and you have an image. Now, obviously this would be perfect for using in school, not just for the words themselves, but also for the imagery. The images are great writing prompts. I really enjoyed it. I just sat there and was reading through words. Some of them I actually knew, which was great, and then some of them I had never heard of. I would recommend this book for anyone who is a word nerd like me. Like, just, it's a gorgeous collection, and hopefully there'll be more editions of this, because I think it's just fantastic. Then I moved into Magic Rises, which is book 6 in the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews. This is part of the reread for the Kate Daniels Readathon, which is happening next weekend. I think, when this video goes up. This one is one of my most favourite books in the series, as well as the one that stresses me out the most, because in this book we have Kate and Curran, who are called out to help mediate a dispute between 3 shifter packs in Europe, and they only agree to go because they are in desperate need of panacea, which is something that stops shifter children from going loop, which basically means they have to be put down because they go wild and nothing can stop them. And so at the very beginning of the book, there is an instance of a couple of teenage shifters who do go loop. It causes great distress to everyone. And so Curran and Kate decide to go along with an entourage of their pack to Europe, and when they get there they really rapidly realise that the whole thing is a trap. Now, the thing that bothers me the most about this book is how Curran acts in it, because he is so used to acting independently of everyone else, and everything he does is to keep Kate safe, but in doing so he alienates her. And the really fascinating thing about this is that the character dynamics of all the side characters who are in this book is seeing who doesn't question Curran and who really sides with Kate, and who take great offence to what Curran is doing in order to sort of manage the situation. And so the entire series is from Kate's perspective, so we only find out Curran's reasoning for doing some of the things when he finally confides in Kate, because she has enough. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Heather and Megan about this, because, as I said, I love this book and it drives me absolutely insane at the same time. Then I reread Magic Steals, which is book 6.8 or novella 6.8 in the Kate Daniels series. And this is a Jim and Darlie book. So Jim is Curran's second in the pack, and he's also the spy master. And Darlie is an Indonesian white tiger shifter. And we met her in one of the books, and then we've also had a couple of novellas and short stories about her. She is a shifter with magic. So because she's a white tiger, it is seen as quite a magical, mystical creature in her culture, and she has the ability to help people, and so her local community calls on her when weird things start happening. And she and Jim are in a really tentative relationship, that they're together but they haven't told anyone, and they also don't get to spend a lot of time together. But in this book, Jim comes over and they're at her house, and then her mother and one of the local community members comes to ask for her help, because strange things are happening to the owners of businesses in a particular area of the city. And so Darlie and Jim begin to investigate it, and it's just awesome. I don't often go back and read Darlie's stories, but I do really love her as a character, and this just reminded me of why. And also I like how we see Jim when he's with Darlie, because we only ever see Jim through Kate's eyes, and Kate views him in a very particular way, which is very different to how Darlie views him. So we get a more well-rounded picture of who Jim is and why he makes the decisions that he does. So that was really good to go back and revisit this story. Then I read Muffin Top by Evie Mitchell. This is the 3rd book in the Capricorn Cove series. I think it's the 3rd book in the series. And this one is about Honey, who is a curvy woman whose mother is always on her back about losing weight and being more acceptable. But Honey really doesn't care. She actually tunes her mother out. She lives her best life. She dresses the way that she wants to dress to feel fabulous, and she's awesome. And in this one, she ends up reconnecting with a high school friend of hers called Tristan, who is now the local town sheriff. They both had a crush on each other in high school, but they never really did anything about it. And now that they reconnect, there is this spark, and they decide to pursue it. It's super short, it's very steamy, and it's very much insta-love, but in this case it's a second chance insta-love type of situation. And then finally I read Wrapped in Black by Tiffany Reisz. This is part of the Original Sinners series. It's one of the novellas that sort of spins off somewhere along the lines, and I haven't actually read the original series yet still. I still have not started that, but I've read heaps of the novellas and I know all of the characters and the players. So this is a Christmas novella set in New Orleans with Nora, Soren and Kingsley. And the 3 have been friends and lovers and all sorts of combinations over the years. Nora is a dom and a switch, Kingsley is a dom and a switch, and Soren is a dom and a sadist. And for Christmas, they decide to, instead of doing a white elephant, they do what they call a black and blue elephant, which is basically giving each other gifts that hurt. This is very much an erotic romance. It is very, very steamy. There are tons of content warnings in here for all sorts of different types of kink, so be aware of that going into it. However, it is interesting seeing all of these relationships, because Kingsley is married to someone other than the 2 of them. Nora and Soren are in a relationship, but she is also in a relationship with Nico, who is Kingsley's son, and keeping track of all of that and being mindful of that, and then watching as these characters figure out how to give gifts to each other that hurt each other but are also actually gifts that need to be given is a really fascinating concept. So my 2022 goal is to read the original Sinners trilogy because I've loved all of the novellas and it's just getting ridiculous at this point that I haven't read any of the actual books. All right, so those are the books that I read this week. In the comments, let me know if you have read any of these books or if you're planning on picking any of them up in the future. Alternatively, feel free to let me know something else that you have been reading this week. If you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a cupcake emoji down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow for my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye everyone.